Inside Utah Politics.
Time now to debate some of the big stories of the week with the Inside Utah Politics panel. This week we have Salt Lake County Councilwoman Suzanne Harrison and State Representative Corey Malloy. Glad to have both of you on the show. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
Let's start off with the new state flag. It is just kind of surprising how big of an issue this became during the session and how heated the debate came. It is now official. That is a look at the new state flag right there. Councilwoman, let's start with you. Do you like the new state flag? And if you do, explain why, and if not, explain why.
You know, I think this is fun. I really appreciate the process that the folks went through to seek public input and to get input from all over the state on this. I think it's great that there's a way to still have our current state flag and incorporate this new fun one, and I'm excited to get a new sweatshirt. So,
I've actually seen a lot of swag associated with the new flag. Representative, you voted against the new state flag. Talk about why.
Well, I think the tradition of our original flag is very, very important. I really like traditions. My constituents really liked the flag, and so I had a lot of people requesting and asking me to vote no, and I felt the same way, and so that's why I voted no.
Do you like what the governor did here with his executive order? He basically said now we have a historical flag along with the new flag, and that historical flag will still fly above the new flag as at the state capitol. Do you see that as kind of an olive branch extended to those who view it the same way you do, Representative?
I'm not sure. Well, I think it is an olive branch, certainly, but I think more importantly, it's just a nod to the past and to the traditions that we've had throughout the state. And I think it holds that flag in a good position as far as honoring that flag and what it's represented all of these years. So I think it was good for the governor to do that, and we'll see. I think, you know, there's a referendum out there, and I don't know if that's going to work or not. I think what I've been telling my constituents is the vote passed, and so we have a new state flag, and I think eventually I'll embrace the flag as well as many other people throughout the state.
I'm glad you brought up the referendum because that is in the works. Last check, not many signatures had been turned in, but that doesn't necessarily mean those are the only signatures they've collected at this point. Councilwoman, do you see a referendum being successful in this situation?
I don't. I think it's really hard to get enough signatures to get anything on the ballot, and they're going to be up against a really high bar there. And I think residents care more about other things. I think they care more about cost of living and air quality, saving the Great Salt Lake, and I just don't think this rises to the bar of like urgent pressing issue for most residents.
That's a really good point because you also referenced the process a little bit earlier. This had more public input on a lot of issues that you just referenced. Representative, what do you make of that when you take a look at how many people came out and voiced their concerns on this issue?
Well, I think it's certainly interesting. I believe the process was a good process. You know, a couple of years ago, we voted to fund the task force, and so that is what occurred, and a lot of people participated. So I'm not too concerned about the process. I just kind of hate to see our traditions disappear, but we'll move forward. I think the flag is a good flag, and people will embrace it, and we'll just move forward.
Councilwoman, I'd like to get your thoughts on the process, just how many years this took, how many people came out to give their opinions on it. When you mentioned just in your last statement that there are other issues that are more impactful to people.
You know, this has been a several-year process with thousands of people participating, either in giving ideas for possible flag design or giving feedback on the finalists. The process was really thorough and had so much public input, which I really appreciate. And I think people are excited for having this additional option as a way to celebrate our pride in our state, and it's symbolic of many of the things that we hold dear.
Let's move on to another subject. During the week, we saw the president veto his first bill as his time in office, and it was in regards to environmental social governance, or ESG as most people know it, and the bill essentially would have banned ESG investment products, not even had it as an option. We've seen some state leaders really get on this issue and talk about it throughout the state. Representative, let's start with you. Do you believe the president did the right thing with that veto?
No, I don't. I think I would love to have seen that bill go through. I think it would, if the bill would have gone through, it would have been in harmony with what we've done here in the state of Utah, as well as several dozen other states throughout the country. I think this is something that the people are just starting to really fully understand and grasp hold of, and they're not liking what they're seeing, and it's taking responsibility away from our fiduciaries to really just run business the way business should be run and leave these other things out.
Representative, your thoughts on, or I'm sorry, Councilwoman, you're a former representative, that's why I get that mixed up.
She's always going to be a representative.
Yeah, exactly. Your thoughts on ESG, should it at least be an option for those if they want to in their investments?
I think that we have to just take a step back. This issue has been so politicized that I think in many ways we're literally talking past each other. And as a little bit of background, the Department of Labor has a rule that allows private business fund managers for retirement accounts to consider additional information and factors in making the best decisions for those retirement account investments. Those decisions and those factors can include things like whether a company mishandles toxic waste, whether it violates pollution laws, whether it is exploiting child labor or has unsafe workplace situations and environment, whether the company is engaging in, unethical business practices or using unethical, untransparent accounting practices. I don't understand why we wouldn't want to give private business fund managers the ability to consider any factor that would help with the bottom line for investments. I don't understand why it is the government's role to tell a private company what information it can and cannot use in fulfilling its fiduciary responsibility to clients to make the best investment possible. Just to give you a little example, this would be like the government telling people they can't invest in, they can't consider whether to invest in a tobacco company and not consider that the product causes cancer or that it causes air pollution or that, the company lied to the public about the data on health effects of smoking. Why would the government get involved with telling private companies what information it can use in fulfilling its fiduciary duty to maximize investments for clients? I think we owe it to hardworking retirees to let the folks investing that money to use all information to make the best decisions possible.
All right, let's move on to one last subject we saw through the week. That was the governor signing 2 social media bills that were passed in the legislature on Thursday. They require age verification, parental consent, also including a private right of action if parents feel like their children are harmed by social media. Representative, you voted against both of these bills. Explain why.
The reason I voted against it is because of the role of government. What is the role of government? I believe these issues are best left with the parents to work with their kids, to protect their kids, and I think parents strive to do that. And I actually have kind of toned down my position a little bit. I think we do have a responsibility to make sure that we lay the groundwork for parents to do what they can to help protect their kids against the things that we're so concerned about as it relates to social media.
Councilwoman, the governor has really come out swinging on this issue, going as far as to say social media is killing our children. That's what he says motivates him to take action. Your thoughts on these steps the state is taking when it comes to social media?
I really appreciate the legislature's efforts and the governor's leadership on this, because we know that social media is harming all of us, and especially our vulnerable kids. And I think it's really important to work together as parents and as policymakers and with businesses to try to find solutions to help keep our kids safe online and make sure that we're maximizing and protecting their mental health. This is a tough issue. It's certainly going to go to court, but I really appreciate the intent of the legislature and the governor's efforts to try and help our kids be healthy. I think one of the most important things is just making sure as parents we're engaging with the conversations with our kids about healthy online habits and like delaying use of social media till they're able to make good decisions about it.
Okay, we will have to end it on that note. Really appreciate the insight from both of you. Thanks so much for being here with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Stay with us. We'll be right back with more Inside Utah Politics right after the break.